Purdue with a big game this weekend against Alabama, an Alabama team that I'm a little less scared of than the last few Alabama teams. I think anytime you play a Nate Oates offense, there's a lot of things to be concerned about. But for some reason, even though this team is 13th on KenPom, I'm not really buying that. What do you think about the Tide?
Yeah, they are analytics darlings because of the way they play. Their numbers are always going to be inflated just with their 3-point shooting and the reliance on that. But there isn't anything special that they do. There isn't any individual guy who scares you per se. Like, they have a lot of really productive guys, Mark Sears being among them, Aaron Estrada being one of them, obviously. Offensively, they are what they are, and it's not that different from other teams, with the exception of they don't have that Brandon Miller type NBA guy who's going to really take over, or that all SEC first team caliber guy who scares you. Couple that with them being relatively putrid on the defensive end so far this season. Like, they're good. They're also very beatable.
They're also very beatable, I think, at a position that a certain National Player of the Year returns at.
Oh, yeah, that.
Is that Zach Edey?
They miss Charles Bediako inside for them.
Yeah.
Like, they have not replaced that big man production, particularly on the defensive end with the rim protection. But there is a gaping hole in the middle right now, and you don't want any competent big men really to go play there, let alone someone the talent of Zach Edey.
Yeah, so I was curious what was going to happen to the center spot for Alabama, because obviously a lot of turnover in general. But Mark Sears is back in the backcourt. They added a bunch of really talented guards as well. And then in the front court, it was kind of just like they got some like hybrid big forwards to me. Like that, to me, that's what Grant Nelson is. He's like just a super versatile guy. He's not a center.
Yeah.
And same with Mo Wag. I don't know. I think I'm saying, is it Wag? Is that how you say it?
Yes, I have questions as well, but it sounds right.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with it. Mo Wag, like, good player. Don't get me wrong. Not exactly a shutdown center. And to me, I kind of was hoping that early in the season we would see signs that maybe Jaron Stevenson would be that guy. He was the highly touted freshman they've got. He's the most center-shaped body they have. He just hasn't played a lot. He played 8 minutes against Clemson. And looking back at it, man, Clemson has a good front court. PJ Hall's a killer. They really feasted from 2-point range in that game. And look, this is a game in Toronto. It's going to mean something to Zach Edey to be playing in Canada. It was the whole reason they're playing this game was Zach Edey's coming back, and we're going to reward him. We're going to get it on the schedule.
Right.
Isn't the over-under for this game for Edey like 35 points?
Over. I would go over too. Like, everything is set up for him to have a big game, both on the court and off court too. Purdue's going to try and really showcase him. He should have a big game. He should have one of his better games of the year. As you mentioned with Clemson in particular, their front court, that was Clemson's statement game, and they won because of their front court. A number of teams have had good games, better than expected games against Alabama because of their front court. Now, flip side of that, Alabama is, if you think of the negatives with Purdue, with having a hard time defending the perimeter, staying in front of really athletic guards, that's what Alabama can do. That's what Alabama is built off of. I think this game could be close. Like, it's not going to be a game where I think Purdue blows Alabama out or anything like that. It is a chance though for Purdue to make a statement about, we can handle these kind of guards, especially considering what just happened with Northwestern.
Yeah. I that was my next thing I was going to ask, is like, I almost feel like to beat Purdue in the regular season, of course, things change when we get to elimination, but in the regular season, to beat Purdue, I think you have to have a guy who's capable of superstarring you to a victory. And it almost has to be a guard, because no big man is going to superstar their way through Zach Edey. So Alabama on paper, I think, has a couple guys who can do that. Mark Sears is their best guard to me. Aaron Estrada is the big name transfer. I don't think he's been spectacular. He has a couple 20-point games this year for them, but I don't know. Like, it's taken him a lot of shots to get there. And he just when you watch him, he's small. Like, he's turned the ball over a lot, not a lot of assists. Like, I don't know that I buy either one of those guys as the guy who's going to take over against Braden Smith.
I'm with you. Like, there's not that star right? Like there isn't a guy who can just take over against anybody. But Alabama does have a number of guys who are quick, can make their own shot off the bounce, and are productive, right? And that's something that Purdue has struggled with. Like it's the Fairleigh Dickinson model, right? And not everything Purdue is going to be relayed back to Fairleigh Dickinson, but it's that model of a bunch of quick guards. And if you're Alabama, I think you're hoping that's the recipe here, because you're not going to have that boo-booey kind of performance from somebody, right? You're going to need this to be a collective effort, and that's kind of the way how Alabama's had to do things this year. But defensively, there's a lot to make up for there, because they are very, very bad on that end of the court.
Yeah, and they are old. I'll give that to the backcourt, like Sears and Estrada, both senior or senior plus guys. Grant Nelson's been around forever. Like they're not going to be like kind of spooked by going up against a Purdue team on a neutral court. Look, they're going to launch between 30 and 40 threes in this game. I expect this to be a fast game because all Alabama games are fast, but now Purdue is comfortable playing fast. That's a new thing. Yep. So to me, like Alabama's not going to get too many stops in this game. It truly is going to be, can they get to 90 to 100 points? And they can, but they need to make threes. And if you look at the two games they lost against Ohio State, they were 9 for 30 from three. Against Clemson, they were 11 for 35 from three. And look, 11 threes is a lot of made threes in a game, but not with the way Alabama plays. I think they're going to need something like 15 to 20 made threes to have a chance to win this game.
They are. And past Alabama teams have been okay with those kind of performances because the best NATO teams have coupled that with really good defense, or at least really good rim protection, right? And we've discussed this, but Alabama team does not have that. So they need to shoot 40% from three, and shooting 40% from three on 30, 35 attempts is a pretty good deal. That's a pretty good amount of makes. If they can put game pressure on Purdue and see some shots fall early and get things going, that's key, because this is an Alabama team that rides the momentum a little bit, right? And as is general with any team that really lives by the three, dies by the three, the more you see go in, the more confident you're going to be, the more game pressure you're going to put on an opponent. First 10 minutes, first half, I think could tell us a lot here. But that's the recipe for Alabama, is to try and make as many threes as possible, because believe it or not, that's a good thing.
Yeah, right. And that is like, just playing teams like that, it's so volatile. Like you don't know what you're going to get. In some games, there's not much you can do to stop it. Like if a team's just hot from three, like, okay, tip your cap. So in essence, that is the most scary type of team for Purdue to play, I think, because Purdue likes to be the ones that are controlling the outcome of the game. In this one, like you don't control the outcome of the game against Alabama. They do that themselves for good or for bad. And look, the one thing I'm confident Purdue's going to score. I think they're going to get to 80 easily in this game, even if they play poorly offensively. Like I said, give me the Zach Edey overs, whatever the lines are. I'd be interested in Braden Smith's overs if you can find a book that'll give them to you. But yeah, look, I know Purdue had the Northwestern loss. We have seen Purdue be great against great non-conference opponents every time they've played in the regular season for 3 years. That is what I expect more of in this game. Alabama is 0-2 against top 26 opponents they've played this season. The best win on their resume right now is Oregon, who does not impress me much at this point after they just let my Wolverines go to overtime with them. So I think this is going to get ugly. What's your prediction?
Yeah, I think Purdue wins. I don't think it gets ugly, but I think it simply gets to a point where Alabama can't defend Purdue. Like Purdue to win, Edey's going to do what Edey does, but for Purdue to win, they need their perimeter guys and guys 3, 4, 5 in the pecking order to play well. Those are the guys that Alabama has struggled to defend throughout this whole season. So I think we get to a point where Bama simply can't get stops. Purdue wins by 9.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take double digits. 9 feels about as close as I can see this one going. If I'm wrong, I will come on here on the recap and just bite my tongue, give Nate Oates his flowers. But yeah, I don't know. Ohio State like thoroughly outplayed this Alabama team on a neutral 2 weeks ago. And the Buckeyes look pretty good. Don't get me wrong, but that did not leave me feeling the most inspired by the Crimson Tide this year. So we'll see.
Yeah. Down year for Alabama.
By the way, Grant Nelson, are we sure he's good?
No. but this is a chance for him to prove himself. It's big stage. Stretch 4, where Purdue tries and goes big, could give him a matchup advantage that he should exploit. If he doesn't do it now, like I think it's pretty safe to say he's not going to be the guy that Alabama fans spent the whole offseason telling everybody he was going to be. He's not that slam dunk lottery pick NBA guy. But there's enough there for me to still think he can be good, but he's got to start showing it. And I think now has the potential, at least, to be something that he could take advantage of from a matchup standpoint.
Yeah, maybe me presuming not good is a little harsh, but he just look, I thought he was the second biggest impact transfer that changed schools this offseason behind Hunter Dickinson. Haven't seen that. He's not making threes right now. I don't know.
You could have impact could be negative too.
You're right.
Impact could be negative too.
My bold prediction for this is Grant Nelson has a SportsCenter #1 on the top 10 play in this. Some sort of crazy dunk, high flying. Purdue wins by 19. That's where I'm at with this. All right, that's Brian Rauf from Heat Check CBB. I'm GregWaddell from Sleepers Media. We are doing recaps and previews for every big game this college basketball season. We'll be back later this weekend with a recap of this one. Stay tuned. That's on the Sleepers Media YouTube channel.